All right, guys, let's talk about Georgia here for a second. Look, we all know Georgia Bulldogs, no pun intended, are the top dog, not just in the SEC, but of course in the entire college football world. And obviously, the short term continues to look great for Georgia as we get ready for 2023. But we've got some interesting numbers to back up how good Georgia is going to be, not just in the short term, eyes, but in the long term, the out years, and how this potentially could be the next great dynasty in college football.
Yeah, Nick. Obviously, I think Georgia is by far my second favorite Bulldog team behind only the Citadel Bulldogs. So I think this team really has a lot going for them. There's something special. And I think there's a couple of things we're going to point out today just to show how good this team is overall, how much better they are in some than people in some other aspects of things, and just how special what they have going is. But Nick, before we get into all of that, I want to ask the Georgia Bulldogs fans in the comment section below, who has been a guy that came into Georgia as a recruit that you were the most excited about? We all know Dylan Raiola is coming to Georgia this year, and I think, number one overall recruit in the country, number one quarterback in the country. He's going to be a very special guy in 2024. But I want to know who's another guy just like Raiola. When they came to Georgia, you were the most excited about, the recruit that got you the most excited. Let us know that in the comment section below. But Nick, what do you got on the Georgia Bulldogs?
Miles, it's very interesting. You brought up the 2024 class and, of course, Raiola. And we always talk about recruiting as the key to long-term success. And look, for anyone who follows college football, that, of course, makes sense. That's your pipeline of talent. You can obviously maybe have one really great transfer class or get lucky one year with a couple big-time players in the recruiting game, and you become a contender. Maybe you win a title, maybe two. But eventually, if your recruiting class doesn't handle, you'll fall apart. Of course, the Gus Malzahn Auburn days, the Gene Chizik Auburn days, too, frankly, for that matter, fell into a victim of a lot of that. That is not happening with Georgia and Kirby Smart. Let's go ahead and throw up this image, Miles. This is from 24/7 Sports. This is their current rankings for the class of 2020-24. This is the top 8 schools on this list. And you can see Georgia's clearly at the top of the list according to 24/7 Sports rankings. They've got 297 recruiting points. You can see everyone else on the list. You see Ohio State at 267, Florida 265, Michigan 263, and so on. I want to focus on one thing here, Miles, and that's the disparity between 1 and 2, Georgia and Ohio State. That's about what? 30 points, pretty much right on the nose there. The difference between 1 and 2 is 30 points. The 30-point jump there, if you go from Ohio State, is about Oregon. So to put that in perspective, the difference between Georgia and Ohio State, 1 and 2 in recruiting, is the same delta between number 2 and 8, between Ohio State and Oregon. That is how much Georgia is lapping the field in terms of recruiting right now. That is ridiculously good. That is scary good for the rest of the SEC and, frankly, the rest of the college football world. This team already has a lot of talent. This team already has a great coaching staff. This team already is one of the blue bloods in college football. When you factor in not good recruiting, not great recruiting, not elite recruiting, but lapping the entire field of recruiting, this team could become unstoppable. I haven't seen recruiting numbers like this, Mike, since the first probably 3 or 4 years of Alabama under Nick Saban, when they had that 3 championships in 4 years, I think is what it was. And then, of course, it dipped a little bit after those titles. That generally tends to what happened after you win a few titles. So you get a lot of competition into the recruiting environment. Georgia, I think what's very interesting to me here is they're having these great recruiting numbers on the back end of back-to-back national titles. They're not resting on their laurels. They're not just sitting back and having other guys pick off recruits here and there. They're actually getting better at the recruiting game. And to me, that should absolutely terrify the college football world. This Georgia Bulldog team, I think, is well on its way to becoming just as good, if not even better, than the Nick Saban dynasty at Alabama. That's how good Kirby Smart has done in the recruiting game, and of course on the field as well. All right, Miles, I'll throw it over to you now. What are your thoughts on everything with Georgia, the recruiting game, and just the long-term success and trajectory of this program?
Yeah, Nick, before we can get into the future, the 2024 class, I want to take a step back, look at the 2023 class. This is a class where Georgia was number 2 overall still. They were really, really highly ranked. But there's a key here, Nick, is how Georgia gets their recruits. Out of the 26 commitments that Georgia got, 9 guys from Florida there. They got 5 from Georgia, obviously, and a couple spread out from the rest. Then we flip over to the 2024 class here, where they're number 1, they're barring away over everyone. Already 5 more commits from the state of Florida, Nick. They are coming and going after their direct competition. You see number 3 on the list, the Florida Gators. This is a Georgia team who knows what to do, Nick. You got to go through all of your competition, the guys that they're looking at recruiting, and try to steal them right out from under them. You look at Ellis Robinson, the fourth, that star cornerback out of Bradenton, Florida in the IMG Academy, 5-star guy, huge recruit rather, that Georgia snatched up out of the state of Florida. You got to go after your direct competition. We all know Billy Napier can recruit really well. He's had a phenomenal year at Florida. Not quite as good as Georgia, not even close, really. But that is showing Georgia knows what to do. If you're at the top, and you can't get any higher, what's the next move you make? You got to try to start getting the people below you and gap them, like you said. You got to make further gap. And how you do that is by taking the people that they're looking at away from them. I think this is a really interesting strategy that Florida has, or Georgia has, is getting guys out of the state of Florida and other teams that are surrounding them. It's a really interesting recruiting statistic, but like you alluded to, the gap between them and everybody else is absolutely insane. I think this Georgia team is something special, and I think Kirby Smart is showing that he is one elite level coach by being able to recruit just this well.